walk me through these stages that you went to Bali, fell in love with the place, decided to relocate there, and then started I guess a photography blog at first that turned into a business.
Yeah, it was kind of like a blog where I wrote about Bali and the places here, and I took photos of each place. So I just went to cafes and stuff, and I said, "Hey, can I take some photos?" I interviewed the owner, um, and that eventually ended up getting houses and then hotels, and now I do mostly residential.
While the world's still asleep, we're already grinding. Walking foreign streets, big city lights so blinding. Learning and hustling in this relentless game. The emerge pods next up, we're breaking the frame. Yeah. While the world's still asleep, we're breaking the frame. We already grinding. The emerge pods next up, we're breaking the frame. Big city lights.
And welcome to season 2 of the Emerge podcast. I am the new host, Justin Petrone. I am coming to you from Tallinn, Estonia, and today I have on the program Sheila Man from Bali Interiors, who is in Bali, I would guess, if that's where you're. Okay.
That's where I am right now.
What time is it there in Bali?
It's 4 p.m.
Oh, 4 p.m. That's right. And are you in was it Denpasar or are you in
I'm
Ubud
in
or
Canggu.
where are you?
Canggu.
Canggu. I've never been there. I think we did the east side of the island when we went to visit Bali. So I know something of Bali. But from what I understand, you're not from Bali and you're not from Australia either. You're from Argentina.
Yeah, that's right. I'm from Argentina.
You're from Argentina. So how does someone from Argentina wind up in Bali?
Well, before I left Argentina was when I was 18 years old, and I moved to Australia. So I then lived in Australia for 18 years, and I was actually had a jewelry label, and knew the production in Bali was you could do small brands. So that's why we decided to come to Bali to see if I could find a factory, which I did. And that's when our love affair with Bali began. And about 3 or 4 years later, after I started doing that, we actually ended up moving to Bali.
So you have a kind of like a wild streak in you that you're 18 years old and you just decided to go to Australia. What did you even know about Australia when you went there? You're just sort of imagining kangaroos and koala. What's the story there?
Well, I fell in love with an Australian. Oops, what happened? Can you see me?
I see you fine.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. What did I do? Here we go. I fell in love with an Australian. At the time was a young man. Now he's my husband.
Oh, okay. So there's a love angle.
Together 20-something years later.
Yeah, were you like pen pals, or was he like a sailor who happened to come into port?
We met in Argentina actually when I was still in high school, and it was like a explosive romance love story. And I went on holidays over there to visit him, and we did a little bit of long distance. And within like a year and a half, I moved to Australia.
Okay. Were you living in Sydney or Melbourne or Perth?
Sydney.
Or Sydney. Okay. Yeah, and then it would make sense that you would wind up in Bali because a lot of Australians vacation there.
Yeah, but funnily enough, we avoided Bali for many years. Australians give Bali a really bad press. And so everything that we had from Bali looked terrible. It was not good. All the press that we came from Bali was really not our style. So we actually avoided it for years. And we traveled all through Southeast Asia, but we never came to Indonesia, never came to Bali. And only because of my manufacturing that I need, that we ended up here, and we're like, oh, hold on. There's a whole other Bali that were not presented in the press, And then when you go, like, we actually really like it, and it's really beautiful, and it changed our perspective completely.
What are the bad things the Australians are saying about Bali? Because I think I'm from New York originally. I think for New Yorkers, it's definitely like a dream destination that one day I will be able to go to Bali or Tahiti, someplace like that. So what are the Australians saying about it? that might have put you off?
The thing is that Australia, their biggest tourist competitor so far has been Bali for Australians. It's cheaper for Australians to come to Bali and have an awesome holiday than travel within Australia. So the Australian is constantly putting bad press just to deter people from coming to Bali. So if they say like a Christmas holiday coming, they will just spread bad rumors like there's a new disease in Bali that if you caught it, you will die. So people get scared and they don't come. So this literally happens every single year, every single holiday. So if you're unaware of it, you just think, oh my God, this place looks terrible and horrendous, But until you go there and you're like, hold on a second, this is not true, at all. So it has a really bad press. And I really think it's just for tourism purposes. They don't want people to come to Bali and spend money in Bali when they can spend it in Australia.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely an interesting corner of the world there. But you were involved in, you said, in jewelry, accessories, fashion, but you also are a photographer. Were you a photographer when you went to Australia? Were you
No, I became a photographer in Bali actually.
Oh, okay.
So
But
I
did you do
started
photography before then, for like a personal hobby, or?
no. I always loved photography, and I think like when I was like 20, when I went, I was 22, we did a travel all around the world, and I took my camera and really got into photography. I just loved taking photos, and then again in 2005 I went to India and I took loads of photos, and I really enjoyed it, but it was just really a hobby. That was it. And then I think at one point in my life I did like a short course, those suburban courses that you go once a week for a month and they teach you the basics, maybe when I was like 20. But really I didn't pick up photography properly until I moved to Bali, when I launched my blog, and I just wanted to take photos, but I didn't have the money to pay anybody to take the photos. So
okay, what were you using? I mean, were you just using your digital camera on your phone or something, or did you invest in a better camera? Or
first it was on my iPhone, like a really old one from 8 years ago, so it wasn't very good quality. And then I had this camera, I had like an SLR, but it was super old, so I started taking photos with that, and then I realized this SLR was really old. I needed to upgrade, so I got like a cheap digital SLR. And that actually was a really good little purchase. It cost me like $500, and it was I actually took some really good photos with that camera, but it wasn't a full frame. It was a small frame, so I used it for a bit, and then eventually I got a second-hand really good camera. And a few years ago, I just got a really good camera, so I've upgraded over the years.
Yeah, because one of the questions I really had was how, if you're from the analog era, how digital photography has impacted the business.
Well, I
think it's that in the past, you had the camera, and then there were photographers who knew how to manage all this special hardware. And then you have, but now everyone can take kind of high quality photos, with their phone, and add filters and play with it, as we've found out with the royal family. For some reason, this
I know.
I don't understand the fascination with this photo, but that's a good example of what you can do,
I don't think that was them doing this Photoshop. So I did train myself in photography. I think one thing is I don't use filters. I don't use my phone to edit things. Now I have a full-time post-production person, but I did all the post-production myself for 7 years or something. And so for me, every shoot that I do has its own coloring. So yes, you can use filters and stuff, but truly, I spend as much more time actually. For example, a shoot is 4 hours to say, but I spend on post-production maybe 12 to 20 hours just to post-produce a shoot. So, okay, yes, it's not like the old school that you go to the dark room and you spend hours. It's not that sort of manipulation. I never did that. I've never done that, to be honest. So I don't know. But saying that, I still spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours doing the post-production of these photos. So yes, it's digital, but if you want to do a really good job, you still have to spend that amount of time afterwards to make it look really good.
Okay. I'm wondering, what do you have to do to make it look really good?
The
Is it just
color,
about playing the colors? Yeah.
coloring aging ages until you get the coloring right. And also, I could spend like 5 hours straight in the computer and looking at the screen, and then I actually have to walk away and then come back the next day with fresh eyes and look at it
Yeah.
again. So it's a lot of like, if someone used to say, "Oh, can you get it like done by tomorrow?" I'm like, I can, but I don't want to, because I know I will miss things. I need to step away from it and come back to it, and step away and come back to it like a couple of times, just to see all those things to take off or fix or color or like make look better. So there's a lot of trickery and a lot of work that goes in post-production.
The Emerge podcast is brought to you by EmerHub. If you're looking to set up a business, manage your taxes, or even import shipments to Southeast Asia, then go to emerhub.com and schedule a complimentary call with one of their consultants. Yeah. How do I asked this from another photographer a couple of years ago, that how do you know when it's a good shot?
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do, and sometimes it surprises you and it's not as good as you think it is. And sometimes other ones are better and you're like, oh, I didn't think that shot was going to be that good, and they turn out really well. So sometimes you can predict, and sometimes it completely surprises you and you're like,
yeah, because I'm a writer, and then I'm thinking that people have asked me, how do you know if the story is good? And it's a very tricky question, actually, especially if you're dealing with, if you're dealing with design. How do you know that this picture is better than that picture?
Well, to make a picture, like, I'm mostly an interest photographer, and usually, like, if you really, the problem is this, okay? People want things fast, and you have little time to do it. And to make a good picture, it actually takes time. You could spend hours just preparing for one picture, to take that photo.
Do you mean like setting up the room, for example?
Style it, make sure that goes there, this goes here, that's an art, and I don't get to do that so much these days because it's just lack of time, and people want things fast and they want quantity and not quality, so it's a fine line. But I still try to, in every shoot that I do, to make sure that it's styled correctly or move the furniture in a way that best feature each room or each house. So yeah, just to set up the picture, it takes time. I'm just fast now. I know what to move, and I know how to do it quickly,
So this all developed after you moved to Bali, though?
Yeah.
So walk me through these stages, that you went to Bali, fell in love with the place, decided to relocate there, and then started a photography blog at first that turned into a business.
Yeah, it was kind of like a blog where I wrote about Bali and the places here, and I took photos of each place. So I just went to cafes and stuff, and I said, hey, can I take some photos and interview the owner? And that eventually ended up getting houses and then hotels, and now I do mostly residential. But I still shoot sometimes hospitality places as well. So it's just different. I do love shooting houses, I think, and especially I like shooting homes, where people live.
But did you set out to make a business out of this? Is what I'm saying. I mean, did you really think like, okay, no. I've got a camera, I'm going to make some money?
No, actually, no. I didn't make any money for the first 2 or 3 years, actually, and it wasn't the goal. The goal was to get out there and do something different. I was a bit tired of the jewelry and the sales that it involves in jewelry making, and I decided to do this blog, and with nothing, like, I had no expectations. Had zero expectations. I was bored. I was like, I want to do something. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I'm just going to start a blog. And literally that was it. Like, it really wasn't much more than that. It was just out of boredom, and I was new in this place, and I was like, I don't know anybody. I'm just going to go and knock on some doors and meet some people and and do something that entertains me.
Are there like old, let's say, expats in Bali and let's say newer ones? Is there a sort of divide between like the people that have been there since the 80s or something and the people who showed up last week?
Yeah, I think, you know, the thing with Bali is always waves. There's
Mm,
always waves, and it goes like this. And when I moved, there was a wave of people. There was
okay.
literally a big wave of people that it was coincidental that I moved then. I don't know. It wasn't like we planned it, like, and I met so many people that time that just moved there as well. So it was like this big group of people. Migration came in 2016. But after the pandemic, there's been another big wave of people that have come. So no, I don't care. Really. Like maybe there's some people that have been here since the 80s, like, I was like this, and you know
Mm,
what, life changes. You know what I mean? You
mm.
can't expect the place to stay the same, and
I
it's
just
also
also wonder how like you're received from other people, if there might be like a tribal mentality or sort of clannish mentality that it's hard to make new friends, for example, to break in when you have a sort of entrenched social systems and community, or
uh,
maybe not. I don't know. I'm just
uh, it's, Bali is a very particular place. There's the Balinese, obviously, that live here and
mm,
lived here all their lives, and
mhm,
they're very, very welcoming people, very patient people, super patient, the most patient people I think ever in the world.
mm,
And there's also the Indonesians, that a lot of Indonesians live in Bali. They're not particularly from Bali, but they're from Java or from Jakarta or other islands.
mm.
Um, and then there's all the foreigners that come from other countries. So you have three, not three, because actually all the different cultures is like Italians and French and American,
Mm.
Australian, Russian now, South America. Like there's literally such a melting pot of different people that we're all here for a reason. And I don't know. I don't know. I can't explain how living in Bali it's a very particular place. And maybe from New York, maybe you can understand it a little bit, because
It's
New
very
York is
diverse. Yeah.
hot. Yeah, it's diverse, and people are trying to make it here. Like you can, like, that saying, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
So if you can
Well,
make it in Ubud, you can make it anywhere.
yeah, Bali feels a bit like that. It's a place where you can make your dreams come true. So it's but it's also very spiritual.
Mm.
So it's very bizarre, and this fake spirituality and this real spirituality, and there's people that take advantage of the place and people that really want the best for Bali. So there's like a real mixture of people that
Mm.
don't find such a diverse group of humans in such a small place anywhere else but Bali.
Yeah. What else is the appeal about this place? I mean, like you just named some of the other Indonesian islands.
Well,
I have a
there's
friend who
like
moved to Lombok, for example,
this Lombok,
and there's
this
Gili Meno is down there, but it's smaller. And I'm just wondering what is the magic of Bali or the allure that
no,
people are talking
there's
about?
definitely there's a magic to it, and I can't really explain it.
Mm,
Um, but there is something about it, and I don't know. I don't know how to pinpoint it. I think the Balinese are pretty incredible people. I think that definitely adds to the magic. They're very tolerant people, um, very beautiful people. But there's something greater than that, and it's like I don't want to get all metaphysical or spiritual about it, but there's something that is not tangible about this place, and it is it has a really strong energy,
mm,
and that's why it's maybe because there's so many volcanoes here.
mm,
Um, the energy is really strong. The highs are really high and the lows are really low. Um, Lots of things happen here, very fiery. There's lots of like explosive things happen within relationships, in the islands.
mm, mm.
yeah, it's
I
really
understand. I mean, to talk of a completely different island, I've spent time on Iceland as well, and I have had this feeling like it's just a weird vibration here because of all these volcanoes, and it's where the continental divide is, and I can understand what you're saying, but
yeah.
except add much better weather and a tropical climate, and
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's like I don't know. Some people said Hawaii has some like similar energy. Sometimes I think having a volcanic energy is very different from a place
Mm,
where from Argentina or Australia where there's no volcanoes or any of that energy. So I think that there's always like this revolution happening within the island, but it spreads to people. So within is a revolution within all ourselves when we live here, and it could come in really great ways. So it also comes in really shit ways, and so for example, heaps of people separate when they live in Bali. They divorce. So many people they come to Bali and the relationship finishes, and it's
okay.
really common. Even
Is that
like
a good
someone.
thing or a bad thing?
"Ah,
Maybe an inevitable
well,
thing, maybe. Yeah.
I think it's an inevitable. I think it's in other countries you can what ballet does, it puts a mirror on your face and shows you
Mm,
who you are, who you're
mm,
married with, who are your friends. It really, you cannot escape it. So
mm,
if you're not super happy with your relationship, ballet will destroy that because it will show you that your partner is actually not a great guy or a great woman, or you're not in the right relationship, that your friends actually not who they seem to be, that you are
mm,
seem to be, or maybe you need to step it up, or you need to calm down, or you know what I mean? Like it really
mm.
is like it brings a lot of things for everybody that lives here. So it's quite tumultuous in a way. So you
Yeah.
have to really be calm, really try to be calm because it's quite a ferocious energy, and if you're not centered and you're not at peace with who you are, it will bring a lot of trouble and a lot of fire and problems in your life. Sorry,
Okay.
sound really
Yeah.
negative, but it's not
No,
that
no, it's
negative.
very interesting, actually. It's really interesting. But I think we're supposed to be talking about business, and we'll get
That's
back
all
to
right.
the. No, it's great. But look, I mean, it had some magical effect on you too. I mean, you started a completely new business and in a way career. I
Yeah.
was wondering about doing business in Bali versus Indonesia. Here, I really have no idea how do you even do it. I mean,
Well, I think Indonesia as a whole, it's depends where you are in Indonesia. Like I have friends that have businesses in different islands, and it's not easy at all. It's really difficult. Like Bali is
why? Bureaucracy or different rules across different
uh,
islands? Yeah.
it's very very tribal in some places. Like I'm talking tribal. They have a
Mm,
machete and they will cut your head off. Like that kind of trouble. So it's not Bali is like a city, in comparison to some of these islands. So you just
mm,
have to be really careful. You can't just go and set up shop anywhere you want. You have to really do your research and be cautious of the customs and the culture there and really be respectful because it could get you in a lot of trouble. Saying that, there's also Java and Jakarta or Yogyakarta, which is like big cities and like it's like a city. So it's
yeah.
like anywhere else. So it really depends where you choose to live. But Bali, in actual fact, it's perfect in that respect because it's easy. You have everything at your doorstep.
Mm,
You want some blue cheese and
yeah.
caviar, you can get it from the supermarket. You know what I mean?
Right. So it is like Manhattan in that sense, or a city, or an international city. That's
Yeah, it
must
has
have to have that
become. It was,
closeness.
yeah, it has become a lot in the last 8 years. Like when I moved here, there was no a supermarket near me. Like I had
Mm,
to travel for like an hour out just to go to the literally it was pretty much the only supermarket there was, just to get some groceries. And now I have like 5 supermarkets within my doorstep. That's because it grew in such a huge way in the last 8 years. It just exploded. So it
mm,
wasn't like that when I moved in. It was a lot harder.
mm.
But now it's like basically living in the city, pretty
But how
much.
do you even set up the business? I mean, for example, where I'm sitting in Estonia right now, everything is online. and really efficient. And I'm just wondering about the process of setting up a business.
Well, there's many ways to set up a business. Not difficult. You need to
Mm,
get an agent to assess you. Emerhab is really good at that actually.
mm,
So just get it like an agent like Emerhab and just let them help you. Really, that's the best way to do it. I think you can do it yourself, but unless you speak perfect Indonesian, you're gonna spend like a lot of time Google translating every single piece of thing,
mm,
and it's some things you just need someone to assess you that knows the law,
mm.
because I don't know it. And I'm not going to spend time knowing it. So I get someone to help me and assess me on what business do I want to do or and see what is possible.
I think for a Westerner going into um, a place like Bali, you had to feel at least a little intimidated by the language barrier, by the cultural barrier. And I don't just mean in terms of fitting in or adapting, but also like when we're talking about running a business, it could seem like a real challenge to do that. Who am I talking to? How does this even work? How are these systems put in place?
Yeah, I guess so. It's easy, but it's not easy. Like you can't just come here and do whatever hell you want. There are laws and there's rules, so you just
Mm,
have to know what they are and just stick to them really. Like it's yeah, this just it's like everywhere else. When you move to anywhere, you need to understand what's possible. The thing is that in Western countries, most of the time, unless obviously it's a bit harder to be an expat, but it's possible. Usually get a job. So I think that's the difference mainly with Bali. Like most people, you just say you're from New York and you move to Singapore. It's usually because you got a job there and you move
mm,
for the job. What happens in Bali is that it's really hard to get jobs in Bali. So the people that move here end up setting up businesses because there's not really that many job opportunities unless you have your own businesses. So I think that is the main difference. So you just need to learn to navigate the whole business world for your own sake, not for like, you know, there's not that many people that go to, I don't know, Singapore, Japan, or whatever, and set up their businesses. Like very, very few, I would say. Most people
mm.
just work for somebody else. But in Bali, that option is almost non-existent. So you have to work for yourself, and that's why you have to get assessed.
Okay. Um, Bali, I think Bali is known for design, and I'm just wondering how you made a name for yourself. You must have. I wouldn't necessarily call them competitors, but friendly rivals who are also into interior photography.
Yeah.
So is it like a saturated market, and then I'm sort of curious how you rose to.
I don't know. To be honest, when I moved here, I didn't know one person that was a photographer. I didn't even know there was any interior photographers. The photography that was happening was pretty terrible. And I was pretty terrible myself when I began. I'm not saying I improved a lot over the years.
Mm,
Um, but there was like another person, and now there's like thousands. It feels like there's just so many. And there's some really good photographers here. I think what I do is that we are, I guess photographers is going to be loads, and there's many at the moment that are very good, but Bali Interiors is more than a photography blog. It's a media site. We do videos, we do articles, so it's more like a magazine, like an online magazine. So I'm not worried about the competition because what we do nobody else is doing here.
mm,
There's Instagram pages and stuff, but there is an ulterior motive usually behind them. They're like real estate agents disguised as like, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to sell you something. And
mm.
we're not trying to
Yeah.
sell you anything. We're literally showcasing the most beautiful places in the island. So that's, I think, our biggest difference.
Okay. I was thinking about this that I think for a lot of people, Indonesia is not necessarily on the map, which is kind of shocking because it's one of the largest countries in the world, population-wise and geographically. And what can you tell us about Indonesia that we don't know? Which is, in my case, is almost everything.
Well, to be honest, I couldn't
I
say
think
I'm
there's
an
like 260 plus million people living in
yeah, it's
Indonesia.
huge. Yeah,
Yeah,
huge.
and it's spread out across this huge island chain.
Yeah,
It's majority Muslim, from what I understand, but the
yeah,
Balinese are Hindu. I remember, obviously, from going there.
yeah. There's this Christians as well. There's lots of islands with lots of Christian people like Sumba and Flores.
Yeah.
It's really incredible, Indonesia, I have to say, and it's crazy that people haven't really tapped into it, yet. Bali is kind of the only place, but it's beautiful. Like the scenery in some of these islands is like it's out of this world stunning. Like the most beautiful places you would ever be in, you could find them all in Indonesia.
Okay.
And this variety of places as well. You can go, as I said, there's volcanoes, but there's the most stunning beaches, and like you can sail around what's the name, archipelagos of islands.
Mhm.
There is this cold, like even if that's the incredible thing. Okay, that's another thing about Bali. It's so small, but it has so much variety. You can go 1 hour this way, and you're in like freezing cold in like top of a mountain. I took my mom, for example, to this place a couple of years ago when they came to visit me, and she was like, and I was like, I've never been, but I was like, up here it's pretty amazing. So we camped on this little hill, and it was overlooking this lake with this mountain. And I was like, I can't believe this is an hour away from Bali. It's a completely different scenery. It's freezing cold. How could this be so close? How can you have such a different view? Just only an hour away. And Indonesia is like that. There's all these different the cities. There's culturally really rich. It's a really old place.
Yeah.
So I really think it's really undiscovered. And eventually, I think people will get on top of it and really start exploring. But there's some places like Yogyakarta, which is super rich in culture and the arts. There's Borobudur and Pramayama, I can't remember the name, but it's like two really old Hindu temples. One is Hindu, one is Buddhist, actually, from like, I don't know how many thousands of years ago. So yeah, it's a really incredible place, and the people are so friendly. Indonesian people are so friendly. Really, like, I think they're like the friendliest people in the world, to be honest. They're so lovely, so welcoming, so friendly, so open. No matter where you go in Indonesia, so it's really special.
You've been there now for a while. Was it 2016 when you went?
Yeah, so 8 years now.
Okay. How have you changed during that time? Can you?
How I've changed?
Yeah. How has the island changed you? Can you even sort of describe it? It is hard to look back and do this kind of, but does anything come to mind when I ask you that question? Your experiences there, and
It's still changing me, that's for sure. It's still changing me, and it's evolving me, to be honest. That's what it's doing. It's involving me on super speed. That's the thing in Bali as well. Things happen really fast and much faster than it's almost like it's like a different timeline here. What in another place will take you 10 years, here you can do it in 2. It's like the speed of things is like accelerated. So you change more rapidly and things happen more rapidly and you evolve more rapidly because it's almost like you tap into this energy where when you're in it, things change super fast. So I've changed a lot. I'm not even the same person that when I arrived now. And it was a lot of through hard experiences of disappointments, betrayals, of having to grow up and take charge and step up and believe in myself. So yeah, I couldn't say I'm definitely the same. Like in the core, I'm still the same person. That hasn't changed. I'm still the
Okay.
same person
Yeah.
inside, but there's many layers, and I think a lot of the layers had to come off, and I had to go through really tough things to grow up and learn and not be so naive about everyone's intentions, and just learn to I don't know. There's so many learnings I can't
Well, I mean,
name.
you've also evolved as an artist. You developed as a photographer.
Yeah,
And
that's
successful.
that's like the least of the things. I'm talking like deeper things, like
Yeah.
a human being. That's just like the icing on the cake, really. Uh, I'm talking about really deep things, as a human
Mm.
being that evolved,
Yeah, but
and
it must feed your work in some way.
yes, I guess so. I think I think we're all always evolving and we can't stay the same. I think my pursuits have become bigger, and I'm not photography is just one thing, but it's not all of it, all of what I want to do and where I want to focus my energy. There's bigger things I want to do, but I don't know, I can't remember the question.
Well,
I forgot.
it was about how Bali had influenced you or changed you as a person, but
Ah,
also your work. I mean, you actually, but you started to work as a photographer there, so it's not like you had a photography career before.
yeah.
Okay.
It came naturally. It really came naturally. Didn't pursue it. It wasn't like I was trying to become a photographer. I really
Okay.
wasn't. I was just trying to document what I saw. That
Is
was it.
photography a good business to be in?
Depends. some, sometimes you have a
There
career.
are some
Sometimes
careers like, someone says I'm going to be an actor, and you say good luck, especially in like the US or something like that. And also in writing, you can starve, or you could be extremely wildly successful. It's really
it's
just
just
a
an art. At the end of the day, it's an art, and all arts are the same. You know what I mean?
okay.
Like you could be a starving artist, or you could be very prolific. So it really depends. Um, you know, it's funny, when I was in Australia, I remember I was working in fashion, and I went to a shoot, and there was a photographer there, and it was the assistant photographer, and I was there like assisting styling. I was helping a stylist with the clothes, and I thought to myself, I will never ever be a photographer. This is the worst job in the world. You have to
Mm,
all the shit. They treat you like shit all the time. Like, to make it as a photographer, you could
mm,
spend 30 years working your ass off without getting any money,
mm,
just to assist this, whoever
mm,
superstar photographer it is. I was like, I will never, ever, ever do
mm,
that. End
mm,
up being a photographer, but I skipped that part. I skipped that part of assisting other photographers. I just kind of did it on my own, which I guess that that really helped because if I had to
mm,
assist someone for many many years and just do all the hard work and someone got the credit, I would be pretty pissed off. But yeah, it's not photography is not an easy job. It's very physically demanding. Like, you have to really be passionate about it. So many shoots that I did, and I was with stylists, and were like, oh my god, this is hard. Like,
mm,
not many people could do this job. It's a hard physical job. You're on your feet the whole day. You're carrying really heavy equipment. I did this shoot in this beautiful hotel in Sumba, and I was wrecked after day 3. Like, my back was seized up because I had to go up and down, like really like steep, carrying all my equipment with myself, no assistant,
mm,
obviously,
mm,
like all day, plus shooting it, plus and go from this village to this village to this village. By day 3, I was like, I needed a massage. I was like, I was done. I was like, I
mm,
am
mm.
done. I cannot.
People think you're just taking pictures, and it's easy,
It's
but it's
easy,
not.
but it's like it's 10% is taking pictures, 90% is carrying your equipment from place to place, sitting up, doing this, changing that, coming back, getting into the other stuff. It's
Mm,
physical. It's a physical job, which I love because I like when I do a job being hands on. So if you don't like being hands-on, photography is not for you. You will not survive because it's hard work and you
Mm.
sweating, and especially in Bali when it's hot and sweating and you're like literally
Mm-hmm.
outside in like 30 degrees, 90% humidity. It's physical. You're tired. You're hot. You wish you were in the air conditioner. You're not. It's not a cushy job. It's hard work and it takes a lot out of you. Sometimes at the end of the day, I am exhausted. I come home, I have pounding headache, and I just lie down. I just need to like close my eyes for like 3 hours and just sleep because I am so exhausted. It's very demanding physically.
Yeah. Have you thought about expanding beyond Bali to Java or Lombok or even somewhere else?
Yeah, I have shot places in Lombok. I have shot places in Sumba.
Mm,
I have shot places in Rochester. I've shot in other places in Bali. Yeah.
okay.
So we always say Bali and surrounding islands.
Okay.
Uh,
But
yeah.
no move to Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand.
Maybe in the future. Who
Okay.
knows?
We'll see how that goes. Someone did, when I said I was doing this interview, someone asked me about the behavior of Westerners in Bali. And I mean, is this true that some people think like they can do whatever they want to do there? It's like the wild east or wild south or something like that, wild
Yeah.
west.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of disrespect. I'll call that disrespect. And there's people that just come here and think, and that's the kind of press that we used to get in Australia a lot.
Mm.
People going wild, doing very disrespectful things. And yeah, there's heaps of people that think they can do whatever the hell they want, and
Is it just like a party scene, or is it crazier than that?
yeah, it's both. There's definitely a party scene, and there's also like people just doing stupid things, and you're like why? Why are you so freaking stupid? Like, why would you do that? You wouldn't do that anywhere else in the world. Why are you doing it here? Thinking that you'll be okay, and then you have a massive accident, and end up being in a GoFund because you're like, your brain has fallen off because you're wearing a helmet and going like at 100 k's per hour. Like
That's what I was thinking when you were. It just like immediately came to mind. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then also the super disrespectful. So not, and this is like a real minority. Most people are very respectful and very nice and very kind, but there is a small minority of people that they just think that know better, and and I'm like, you're in someone else's country. You're visiting a place. Like, be respectful. There's an authority. There's cops on the street, and these people are like screaming at that. I'm like, would you scream at a cop in America for no reason? You will be shot dead on the street.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just be. And these cops, most of the time, are not even doing anything wrong. They're like, can you please come on this side because it's a ceremony. We have to close this. And they're like, how dare you? And they're like, dude, like, what the hell do you think you are? This is their house. This is their ceremonies.
Westerners gone wild, lecturing others about how to live their lives. It's everywhere.
It's really
everywhere.
disgusting. It's disgusting behavior, to be honest. And when they get deported, to be honest, I'm quite happy. I'm like, well.
Oh wait, they actually get thrown out of the country.
Sometimes they do, or they die. One of the two.
They take them down to those cliffs by Denpasar and just sort of.
Yeah. These people do very stupid. Not all, but you're like, seriously, why? Because this, I guess they're very immature and they just think that here they can do whatever the hell they want, but you cannot do whatever the hell they want. There are rules and there's people, and you just have to be respectful. Also what you wear, the street. Like you have to cover up a little bit. Sometimes I'm like, can't just wear a bikini like in the city. It's not like New York City is just wearing a bikini. Like, you wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, in some neighborhoods maybe, but I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like, unless you're on the beach, put some clothes on. You know what I mean? Like, there's people that like, this is like a lot of people that live in Bali are from Muslim places. Like, you need to understand where you are. And Bali is very forgiving and very allowing, but still, you're still in a Muslim country. So you have to be a little bit more aware of your surroundings and not be so self-centered.
Mhm. During the pandemic, I think there was probably an influx of people into Bali when everyone went to remote work. I know even from Estonia, I remember seeing people posting that, pictures of themselves sitting by a pool with a laptop, which is kind
Yeah,
of the digital nomad's dream.
yeah.
So what was that period like for Bali? Did you see more people coming in?
After the pandemic was amazing. After the pandemic, yeah, I had a feeling it was gonna happen. I had a big feeling it was just gonna get packed Bali because everyone freaked out. Everyone that lived in a city, they were like, "What am I doing here? I want to go and live my life in a beautiful place."
Mm,
So Bali was such a obvious answer to it. So yeah, it got super busy, super packed. I feel like now it's kind of balanced a little bit out. Like there is definitely huge amount of I'm telling you, just before the pandemic, you would just walk into any restaurants and you'll see people,
yeah.
everywhere. When now I don't know anybody anymore. Like I got all these new people that before they weren't there, so they've all come in the last probably 2 years. So there's been a huge influx of new people. But that's not bad. Bali is, there's always people leaving and people coming, and there's people coming, and there's in the pandemic, lots of people left and never came back as well. So, it's always regenerating itself
Mm.
and, people leaving, people coming back, people leaving, people coming back.
But you said the pandemic was amazing.
Yeah, it
Why
was
was
amazing.
that?
Well, you could live your life normally.
Okay.
I think the first 6 weeks to 2 months, it was like, hardcore. Like we didn't know what's happening in the world. Everyone was a bit
Mhm.
scared. You couldn't go to the beach. It was a bit like crazy. And then after that, they kind of opened up Bali to everyone to just go out on the streets, go to the beach. So there was no one. So many people left in the pandemic. So many people left. Like I think half of Bali left. All the expats that lived here and they left.
Why? Why would they do that?
Well,
You
there
would
was
think that they would want to stay.
Australians. There's a lot of Australians here, and the Australians got very scared. The government was putting really scary messages out there saying there will be bodies on the streets, and if you don't come now, we can't help you. So people freaked out, which is understandable because nobody knew what was going to happen.
Hmm.
So it was. So sorry, 1 second. So, Phoenix, stop. Sorry, my kid is trying to break my tree. And it's already broken, so I don't want it to pull it and the whole tree falls on my head. So yeah, so loads of people left, loads of people. My whole friends group just disappeared, went like that overnight. And all the people from different islands went back to their villages and their different islands that where they live. All the Sumbanese went back to Sumba and all the, everyone just left, So literally what was left was the Balinese and some expats. So a few of us left. And it was great because it was like living in Bali in 1970. It was deserted. All the beaches were for you. There was no one. There was no one anywhere. So you could go from what it now takes 2.5 hours to go. It will take you 45 minutes. So you could be in places like that. And everything was cheap because some hotels would put really cheap deals. So every weekend we'll go and stay somewhere super cheap, And now prices going back to being super ridiculously expensive. But it was great. It was like no one was here. Everything was empty. You could walk into any beach club, any hotel, anywhere, and they were like, "There's tables for you." Now they're like, "Oh, you have to make a reservation and you have to do this." I'm like, can I just go to these places that I love? No, you have to reserve. But then it was like everywhere was your oyster, and it was nice. It was hardly anyone here. It was beautiful. It's the best.
You forgot we haven't spoken about the monkeys of Bali. I have very vivid memories of going to this monkey temple in Ubud. But is that experience only there or?
Yeah. Well, I'm very grateful because in Canggu there's no monkeys.
Yeah, they can be aggressive little bastards.
Yeah.
But they taught me something about people, that the inherent nature of people is not necessarily always so nice. That, if you have a banana, someone else will just take it from you.
Yeah, they're quite aggressive. And I went to the monkey temple, the monkey forest once, and actually one just like literally launched at me for no reason. I was just walking down and they just literally launched at me with like teeth. I'm not a fan. I do
What
not
about
like
snakes?
snakes. I'm actually better with snakes than with monkeys.
Okay.
I don't know.
These are like Bali problems. Monkeys, snakes, crazy
I'm okay with
Westerners.
snakes. I've killed a couple of like I've not killed, but like threw over the fence some snakes. I was like, some I killed because they're like super dangerous. I was like, if I don't kill that one, it's gonna kill my dog. So we're gonna have to. But with snake, I'm actually not so scared for some reason.
Wait, how do you kill a snake? Did you go out there with like the kitchen knife or something, or do you have like a special pellet gun? Or
You kill the head. You smash it.
Ooh. Okay, I'm sorry for asking.
They're not very big. The ones that I
It's
saw
like a
not
personal
very
question.
big.
It's like a very
Sorry.
personal
That's
question.
very
How did you kill the snake? I'm sorry. No, I know a guy in Arizona though. He has like a special like tool that he uses, and he puts them in a box, and then he brings it to some kind of
Sometimes
the
we
snake.
let them go. We do let them go whenever we can. But if it's a super dangerous one, I'm not taking risks.
Okay, so people beware of the snakes and the monkeys of Bali. It's not all beautiful interiors.
No.
There's more to it. But what would be your advice to someone like you, sort of getting off the plane and eyes are twinkling and thinking, maybe I can make something for myself here on this island, a rookie?
I think you can. I think the thing with Bali, Bali's back to the spiritual part of it. Bali has a real strong karma. And if you're good to people, if you're good and like have a good heart and have good intentions, good things will happen to you. And if you have really shitty intentions, things will turn out really quickly for you, and not in a good way. So if you are to come here and to set up a shop or a business or whatever, just have good intentions, like good things for Bali. Like don't just try to take every resource it has and don't take advantage of it. You know what I mean? Like try to be giving in what your intentions are with this island, and then you'll be fine. And I think people don't realize this until it's too late. They just come to make real quick buck, which you can make really fast money here. But if you stay long enough, you realize that was probably a mistake. You should have taken more time and actually educated yourself in ways to make money without harming the island.
Yeah, I could say that. You have to align your personal quest with the influences of the special island of Bali.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just that's my personal feeling. I think if you have good intentions, good things will happen to you. And I've seen some people, maybe it's not, I don't know, like Bali is not for everybody. Bali can be very erratic and it could spit you out really fast. So and maybe that's because this place wasn't meant for you. It really is not for everybody. So some people give it a try and everything goes wrong for them. And maybe it's just this wasn't the right time or the right place for them. So Bali either will welcome you or will not welcome you.
Do you get around on a scooter? I saw a lot of scooter traffic when I was there.
Yeah.
So you have one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. I killed a snake and I jumped on my scooter. I had to take some photos. Normal day for me in Bali. Do you also have like a little? You also have like a little shrine, because you have to put out the altar.
Yeah, I don't in my house but we're gonna put one soon. We are living in a part of Canggu, which is quite Christian actually. They're Catholics, so they don't have a shrine, but we will be putting one in we're actually just moving house today. So this place that we keep in right now, we're going to keep it to rent out, and we're going to add a temple to it.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're going deep Bali, deep
Yeah,
culture.
to be honest, we always wanted to put it on, and it was on the cards. But then when we're building this house, my builder ran off, and he never finished the project. He was supposed to put the the temple in, and then he never did. And then we just, life happens, and then it costs a bit of money, and then you have to do the ceremony that costs more money. So suddenly it's like a big expense to put a temple. So we're like, okay, when we have a bit of money, we're going to put it.
Have you ever thought of going back to Argentina ever? Or is it just like, what? No, I never go back there.
I actually did think about it. I just was there in last October, and nostalgia really kicked me in the heart. And I was like, you know what? I think I could go back here, which I never did. I've been away from Argentina for 20, how many years? I don't know, 25, 26 years. And yeah, suddenly I was like, I really love this place, and I love the culture there, and I love my friends and my family, and I love the city there. It's a beautiful city. But realistically, at this point, no, I'm not going to go back there. I would like to go and visit every year. That will be at least what I would like to do every
Where
year.
Are you from? Where were you from? Were you from Buenos Aires, or are you from?
Paris, yeah.
Okay, so this is a big city.
Big city, yeah, huge.
Yeah, like the biggest, as big as it can get, basically.
You know what? It's funny because it felt big, but also felt small. Funnily enough, like, I don't know. It's because I could get around so fast in Buenos Aires. I could be there in from one place to another place in like 20 minutes. I was like, this is so fast. There were like big distances, but in Bali to go 20 minutes. It's like you literally have to walk there.
I think in Sao Paulo, like the elite take helicopters to get from one place to the next, because it makes no sense to even try driving. It'll just take too long.
But Buenos Aires is not actually too bad in terms of traffic. It's actually actually so good in comparison to Bali. I was like, this is amazing. There's like people drive really well, and there's like no traffic, and you're there in 2 minutes. It's amazing. Yeah.
It definitely has this like liberating feel to it, especially if you're on a scooter and you're out there on the roads. I think we're gonna end things up. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about today? Are there other Argentinians, by the way, in Bali?
Argentinians, yeah, there's a few actually. I met like, I don't know, 5, maybe 10 maximum. Yeah.
I don't know, like Argentinians are all friends when they leave the country, or they're just sort of like, don't talk to me, I think because like with Americans, if you meet another American, you're like, okay, so you need to, where are you from? Who are you really? What are you doing here, really?
Yeah, I have a few, like I know them. To be honest, I don't really hang out with them. But there's some lovely Argentinians people that live here as well. But I think most of the people that have lived here, the Argentinians, most of them they haven't been living in Argentina in a long time. Like all of us left really a long time ago. So we are Argentinians, but we're kind of not Argentinians.
You're like little time capsules from the old days.
Yeah, I've been away since I'm 18 years old, so I'm not a fully formed Argentinian, I'm kind of half Argentinian.
Yeah. And then you have the Australian influence on you and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then you were involved in jewelry. Have you ever are you still doing that, or is that just you left it in the past behind?
I left it in the past. When I started Bali Interiors, I left it. I felt like I just wanted to do something different. And jewelry.
So what's next for the company?
Well, there's many things actually. I don't know if I should say them out loud.
Well, you don't. You can give us a teaser of what's to come for the company.
Well, the next thing is that we're gonna open a boutique hotel.
Okay.
So that's it's going to happen in the next 6 months, I would say, more or less 6 to 8 months. So
Okay.
we're in the process of turning what it was my house into now a boutique hotel.
Okay. But
selling
with this design element, I assume,
Mhm.
integrated into it. Okay.
Yeah, so there's design elements to it, and we are hoping to kind of create a little design hub in Bali, and kind of like a place where we can have talks and seminars and workshops where it's all design oriented, and have people come have beautiful dinners. So I just want to create like a little design space, obviously for people to stay and also to meet other people in the design industry, but also other people that not necessarily stay but come and join dinners or workshops, etc.
Okay. And that's in 6 months from now.
Yeah, more
Are
or
you
less.
nervous? Or no?
Well, I have so much work to do. I'm not even nervous. I'm like, just need to get this stuff done. Really, it's not about. I don't even know if I'm nervous, to be honest. I'm actually moving house today. Today is the moving day, so I nearly forgot about this.
Okay. And any big projects you're working on at the moment?
Yeah,
Or
we have another thing happening, but it's very early days, and I don't want to spoil it. So
okay.
I don't want to say anything just yet. But it's hopefully Bali will become a global media place, not just the Bali base only.
Well, thank you very much, Sheila, for your time today. It's been wonderful talking about snakes and scooters and interior design photography, and best of luck with
Thank you
your
so much.
hotel and your big secret project, about which we would like to hear plenty more, hopefully in a future podcast.
Thank you so much, Justin, for having me. It was a pleasure.
While the world's still asleep, we're already grinding. Walking foreign streets, big city lights so blinding. Learning and hustling in this relentless game. The emerge pods next up, we're breaking the frame. Yeah, while the world's still asleep, we're breaking the frame.